So today we're going to look at how we group values in a pivot table. Really, what does grouping values mean? It means getting numerical numbers together, but also using the dates. I'm not going to go over the data as we've been over it in the past exercises, but really today the things that we want to do are grouping that data, making ranges, and also using the dates. So the first thing that we want to do is look at the turnover. So it's actually the revenue aggregated by the shops, so the sum of the baskets. And we would like to see in total each month how much revenue has been made in the past few years. So to get the first grasp of the data, we'll just put everything in a pivot table. To do that, as usual, we put it in a table. So I'll do Control L. My table has headers, and I will create a pivot table in a new worksheet. I'll rename it one, and we will want to look at the baskets. Did some good practice to always make it in currency format. So we don't need decimal places in that case, just so then we don't need to do it again. All right, that's perfect. And we want to have it by months. So it would make sense to make the date in rows. Let's do that. And as we see, obviously the date is a very wide thing, right? It goes from quarter to years to even hour in our case. Well, the hour is not in the same cell, but we do have a good amount of granularity on the data. And here we have yearly data that is grouped. So the information that we have is how much sales have been made on each year. But here we'd like to aggregate the months. Let's see what happens if we click on the plus. The data is split in quarters and then split into months. And ideally us, we would only want to have months. How do we look at that data? Well, we're going to go ahead and right click here. And you'll see that the thing that we're going to look at today is the group function. Let's click on group and see what we have. So here what Excel allows you to do is to select different parts of your data and say, okay, we're going to group the data by year, by months, by days, by hours. And here the data automatically has been grouped by months, quarters, and years, which allows us to, scroll down and have drop-down menus. But here we don't want drop-down menus, we just want months. So we're just going to unselect quarters and years. After doing this, you click OK, and you're good. You have all the data on the year with the right formatting, and you can see that in the past 4 to 5 years, those are the sum of the sales that you've made. Now let's go and see how we can use the grouping function a little more. So we'll go and create a new table. And what I'd like to do here actually is, let's say I would like to want to have age ranges. It's very interesting to look at ages, right? But if you want to actually make decisions based on that, you might want to group ages from 10 to 20, 21 to 30, etc., etc. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So I'm going to create a new pivot table. We're going to rename it pivot 2. And we're going to look at the age group. So let's put customer age here. Okay, it's the sum. We'd like to actually divide it by gender. And what I'd like to look at really is the number of customer baskets. So let's say we want to look at how many baskets different age ranges have bought, and then we're going to divide them by gender. So you can imagine that the number of baskets is going to be on the left. Actually, the age range is going to be on the left. The number of baskets is going to be counted in the middle, so it's going to be the values, and we're going to count the tickets for that as usual because it's text. So we're going to count text. And we want the customer gender to be on top like that. And actually the values, the rows is going to be the ranges, right? So here you see what it's doing is that for each age, 15, 16, 17, 18, it's counting the number of baskets for female and male. And what we'd like to do is to squeeze all of that data into 10 to 19, 20 to 29, etc., etc. So again, we use the group function. We do right click group, and it automatically offers us the best grouping option, which is grouping data. So grouping only works on numerical data. And in that case, we want to start at 10 and end at 82. Well, there's no more. And we want jumps of 10. So that's perfect. And as you see, you have your data that is grouped. And now it's counting by different ranges of age. So we have 10 to 19, 20 to 29, and we have all the data and all the baskets are counted. So females from 10 to 19 have about 135 baskets, and males 204, etc., etc. Finally, we're going to use that grouping on numbers again to look at the price range of the different baskets. How many baskets have been bought between different price ranges? In that data, what does it mean? It means, for example, what is the range of our baskets? It goes from $6 to $5,500. And obviously, looking at each and every one of them wouldn't be interesting. But if we want to know how many baskets are bought from 0 to 500, then 500 to 1,000, that'll be a lot easier to understand. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So let's create a new table. We're going to rename it pivot 3. And so what we're going to try and look is the number of baskets. Again, so in values, it's always ticket number. You're counting at the text. That's the one we're using in that example. And we will want the basket here. It's giving us the sum, but in that case, we want the sum on the rows because we're going to look at the ranges. Okay, so here we see that for every basket that has been bought, there's been 2 baskets that have been bought at 12.32, etc., etc. Not very interesting with the data. Let's group it. Right click, group, and I will start at 0 and wherever, and I will group them by 500. There we go. And amazing. We have all the data, we have ranges, and we can see obviously that most of the baskets have been between 0 and 500, and then very few ones that are more expensive. So the ranges really allow you to group data and to look at ranges. It's the core function if there's something that you need to take out of that exercise. It's important to remember that it will only work on numerical value. The only thing you can do with text is really count it. And it's something that is quite useful for pivot tables.